searching for the road to the way back. We don't know our father's going way back. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. We the chosen people, you say no way. Your enemies been teaching you the wrong way. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's the simple things in life, like learning love again. It's the simple things in life, like finding where it all began. Oh, do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? History. Now we going back. He done on my back for sure. When I let the truth go, we gon' let them know. My people on my back for sure. I hold them down.
Yo, man.
Yeah.
We already starting off crazy, man. Hey, shalom, shalom, Israel. Shalom, welcome back to the show. It's been a while, been away for a while. Came back from the mission out there, the Caribbean Men's Conference. It was a pleasure being out there doing the Lord's work.
Hey, welcome back, D.
All praise to the Most High. Yeah, man, it was good being out there, motivating the brothers in the islands, you know. So just out there doing the work. Beautiful, beautiful scenery out there. Beautiful scenery. You know, but we got a lot of work to do out there. There's a lot of crime out there, a lot of violence out there going on. I mean, the cops coming up to people in their car with the AK at their head like that. Dang. They don't play out there, man. They don't play out there at all. And them guns are new. Ain't no old AKs, brand new. Okay, so plenty out there wilding out. So we got a lot of work to do out there, a lot of work to do throughout the islands. But I was happy. I had a great pleasure of being with the leadership out there. It was amazing to be out there. Yeah. You know, and just go over the scriptures and just, you know, new things came out. So Lord's will in time, we're gonna share those things with y'all in time. But in the meantime, let's get into the history. Let's jump into it. Let's jump into history now. Let's jump into it. We got a lot of reading to do. A lot of this book has to be brought out. There's a lot of stuff in this book that I found. Well, not all of it, but a lot of stuff I found in this book as well. A lot of stuff in here to cover regarding our arrival, the slave trade in the Transpacific. This book covers a lot of the slave trade that took place during the unspoken of, hidden, as far as I'm concerned, unspoken of, hidden Trans-Pacific slave trade. All right, so give me page 16. A lot of reading today. I'm gonna get cursed out from Bishop. Oh, you throw that damn book and no scriptures. So I'm gonna try to throw scriptures in there as well, because there's a lot I want to cover. Because this book covers a lot of bases I can touch on afterwards. So I want to just use the book right here to lay the foundation, and then just I'm gonna try to skip through some things here and there. But there's a lot of stuff in here that I didn't feel need to be skipped, because it covers a lot. I mean, this book is very, very extensive when it comes to the slave trade of the Trans-Pacific. Our people out there in the Pacific Islands, New Guinea, China, Japan, Philippines. This answers a lot of questions to a lot of people that may not know. A lot of our brothers are actually moving out to the Philippines, and they're living out there, staying out there. They're happy.
Passport bros.
And I mean, I was like, these guys out there messing around with these heathens, and I'm like, not all of them. So,
Right.
But anyway, the point is that our people are definitely out in those areas. They're scattered in those areas. We prefer, brothers, of course, I'm not giving you guys license to go out here and mess around with heathens. I'm just making it clear that our people are found in these areas, and there's a particular group of us that are definitely Israelites out there. All right, so I'm gonna show you the video of them momentarily. So let's get page 16. Page 16. Let me see. I want to start from. Yep, let's just start from Trans-Pacific. Let's just start right there. Damn. Now it's been a while since I read this book, so whatever we come across, I'm gonna be as shocked as you, because I read this book like months ago. So these notes are old. So whatever I come across now, I'm like, wow, because it's been a while since I read it. Start here.
The Trans-Pacific slave trade took hold in the last decades of the 16th century as Spanish colonists in central Mexico reeled from the demographic collapse of the indigenous population and the related decline of the labor force.
So matter of fact, before we even start here, go to that book you showed, the Atlantic slave trade book, the slave trade.
Yes. Hey, do y'all have that?
The Atlas, the slave trade Atlas.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they have that page that you brought out though. Read that page.
I'm about to send it to them now.
I'm gonna show y'all, because I went over. Give me Deuteronomy 28 verse 68 first to start there. Let's just open up with that every time, or try to. Deuteronomy 28 verse 68. Let's just start there, and then get me Isaiah 11. No, I want Isaiah. No, I don't want that yet. Give me that first. Then give me Deuteronomy 32:26.
Yes, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse
Why are
68.
you looking for that? You found it already?
They got it. I got it.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The Lord shall bring you into Egypt again. Give me Exodus 20 verse 2. The Egypt here is not literal Egypt. It's referring to a destination of bondage. Okay, the Egypt here is in reference to America, okay? Because the bulk of both kingdoms were brought to this part of the world. That's why that's why the truth started here. It didn't start in the Philippines. It didn't start in Africa. It didn't start in Central America. It started in North America, because the bulk of all 12. Listen to me carefully. Listen to my words. I'm very careful with my words. I try to be. Let's curse you out, that I don't care. The bulk of the 12 tribes of Israel are here. The remnant of that bulk is scattered everywhere else. That's why the truth starts here. The truth started here. The truth spread through from here, and it's making its way into the other parts of the world, because the Lord knew what he was doing. All right? So I'm emphasizing that for a reason. Read that. Matter of fact, read up. Keep on reading.
Exodus 20?
No. Yeah, read Exodus 20 verse 2. Yeah.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
So Egypt represents house of bondage. We have books that tell you what the word Egypt actually means. It means bondage. captivity. So Egypt means bondage. That's what it means. Now go back to, so Assyria would be bondage, or Egypt. Egypt will be Egypt. Babylon will be Egypt. Persia will be Egypt. Greece will be Egypt. Rome will be Egypt. Spain will be Egypt. Portugal, Britain, the Philippines, South Africa, wherever you are held bondage or colonized, that is your Egypt.
Right.
That's what that's talking about. Read it, but wherever you bought in ships is referring to that. But read that again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With ships, and the United Kingdom is also Egypt. Okay, the EU, all throughout, our people are scattered throughout ships or dropped off. That's Egypt there. The Lord shall bring you into bondage again, based upon Exodus 20 verse 2, with ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
By the way whereof I spake unto you. I said these words to you, it's going to happen. Go ahead.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
You shall see it as in Egypt, this Egypt, literal Egypt, never again as a nation. Because remember, the first time we served in bondage as a nation was in Egypt. He said, you will not see that Egypt anymore again as a nation. Read on.
And there
by this particular Egypt, not the Egypt you came from, but a different Egypt. Go ahead.
ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You shall be sold unto your enemies to this Egypt. Go ahead.
For bondmen
Slave men,
and bondwomen.
slave women,
And no man shall buy you.
and no man shall redeem you, because by the law, when a brother was in servitude or fell into servitude, a brother can easily go in and save him or redeem him out of that bondage. But if the whole nation's in bondage, no one can save anybody. Now both need saving. So no man will redeem you, or no man will buy you. That's what it means. It don't mean, oh, can somebody come buy me, please? Huh? You stupid apologist. In the revised version, can someone come buy me? I'm gonna sell myself. That's what they're talking about.
Can I get a script on that?
Yeah.
Get in the same chapter, verse 29.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness.
Right.
And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee.
There you go.
That's exactly what the scripture
That's
says.
what it means. No man
man
shall save thee. Right. No man shall buy you. No man shall save you or redeem you. That's what it means. The bondage. Now, 32 and 26, same book.
That's why Christ said he's not coming as a man.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No man shall save you. Right. All praises. That's good.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 26.
Yeah.
I said, I would scatter them into corners.
I said to them in the past, I would scatter them into corners, and we did not believe it. We didn't believe it. Go ahead.
I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
I would make the remembrance of them to what?
Cease from among men.
To cease from among men. That cat right there in the back in the darkness is going on, man. This guy, man, hiding in the back over here, man.
He's learning from Manny.
Now you gotta give Tim a chair, bro. What's happening, man? You get the chair, man. We gotta rearrange some things now, man. But go ahead. Read on.
Verse 27? Or
26 again.
Yes, sir. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Go ahead.
Were it not that I learned, that I feared.
That's all I want.
Okay.
Give me the book now. Give me the book now.
For 150 years, Peru and New Spain.
This is the atlas. This is the slave trade atlas right here. This is the slave trade atlas. All right. Read on.
For 150 years, Peru and New Spain, the Spanish territory in the southwestern United States, Mexico, Central America, the West Indies, and the Philippines combined.
Stop there. For 150 years, Peru, New Spain, Mexico, the Spanish territory in the southwestern United States, okay, Mexico, Central America, the West Indies, and the Philistines combined. Go ahead.
Received African captives.
Received African captives. They shipped us to the Philippines, to Mexico, Central America, West Indies, Mexico. Oh, Mexicans aren't our people. Y'all gotta stop talking, man. Just stop talking. You don't know nothing. Read on.
received African captives by way of an intra-Caribbean trade.
Of an intra-Caribbean trade based where?
Based in Jamaica,
Go ahead.
Barbados, and Curacao.
Why? Because the Edomites the British ran Jamaica, Barbados, and I think the Dutch, I believe, run now Curacao.
ABC Islands. Yep.
Okay, and understand, we visited Curacao, and we were met with fierce opposition out there. Fierce. And our history is very, and they have our history out there written in Dutch, so we can't read it.
That's Amalek over
We went, Amalek's over there. We went to I think a slave museum out there, some kind of museum out there, and they had like slave trade stuff on there, but it was in Dutch. I'm gonna show y'all the Curacao here. That's all Amalek there. Them Dutch is Amalek. It's Dutch, is Israeli, Dutch Israelis.
The East India Company.
I don't even call them Jewish. I'm gonna stop calling them that. I don't like that word for them.
Israeli.
Dutch Israelis. Okay, that's who it is. Ran Jamaica, they ran Barbados, and they ran Curacao. I got the book to prove it. This book right here, we're going to get into it later on. New World Jewry. The one nigga that had this book. This book is a problem. 1493, this book is worth about 2000s. This book is no more. It's like the last. I think I got the last one. Very hard to get. If you get it, all praises. Most of you get the PDF.
Yeah. Hey, Deacon, I forget which one of the ABC Islands that we went to, but I believe it was Curacao. They have a statue of Anne Frank there. Anne Frank, the whole.
Anne Frank.
They have a whole statue of her.
Yep, that's them over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The little hats.
So let's get the book now, page 16 now. So this book, right, this atlas shows you that they dropped slaves off in the Philippines because the Philippines had slave ports, and they had slaves being shipped to Philippines, and listen carefully, shipped from the Philippines too. It was back and forth. It wasn't one way, it was two-way. Now, let's read on. The Trans-Pacific slave trade. Many of y'all who are watching have never heard that before. You've heard transatlantic slave trade. You may have heard of the trans or sub-Saharan slave trade, but never have you heard of the Trans-Pacific slave trade. This is a class that's going to open up a lot of doors of history. So those of you who are watching, have the pleasure of being on, all praise to the Most High. The Most High grant you the wisdom, granted you the pleasure of learning this, because this history is not something that's taught by anyone else. As I said before, the truth starts here in America. It started here. It starts here. It continues from here. Read on.
The Trans-Pacific slave trade took hold in the last decades of the 16th century as Spanish colonists in central Mexico reeled from the demographic collapse of the indigenous population and the related decline of the labor force.
So the slave trade took place because they started to massacre and destroy a lot of northern kingdom on this side of the world. So they had to replenish the victims or the slave laborers. So what did they do? God, being a divine power that he is, he knows where his people are. So with Esau, he put the spirit in Esau to say, okay, listen, we killed a lot of Gad over here. We killed a lot of Ephraim over here. We killed a lot of Asher. We killed a lot of Zebulun. We killed a lot of Ephraim. We killed a lot of Issachar. Let's go to the areas where remnants of them are and bring them back over here. They can remarry, replenish, and have our slaves again. That's what they were doing. They knew they know Esau is the devil. If we know who the tribes are, why would he not know?
Right.
Listen to what I'm saying to y'all. If we know, why would he not know? Because God's our father and Satan is his. And both of our God, both of our gods serve the same God. You understand? They're God the devil. And our God pretty much is Christ, who is his father. His father is our God. Some of y'all are like, what do you mean? It's two gods? No, it's one. It's one. It's just, he's the grandfather.
That's right.
Grandfather and the father. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Two separate entities. Don't be all confused. What is he trying to say? I'm not saying anything. The point is that Esau knows what we know, but he learned it on the left side. We learned it on the right side. The righteous side, the evil side. Righteous side, evil side. You understand? Read on.
Though on a far smaller scale, the Trans-Pacific slave trade served the same function as the Atlantic slave trade, which delivered thousands of Africans to Mexico during the same period.
A man named Gasper Yanga. Gasper Yanga from the Gabon. He's a Gabonese prince. He was brought over there, and he led a slave revolt over there, which is unspoken of, and he established one of the first black towns out there in Mexico. Look him up real fast, Gasper Yanga. Look him up real quick. Gasper Yanga. Where'd Cap go?
He's gonna come back on.
All right. Okay, I got you. Gasper Yanga. Yeah, Jaspar, I believe, or it's GAS, or just put up Yanga, Gasper Yanga, Mexico. Yeah, but put Yanga, Mexico, Yanga, Mexico. You might find him up there. Gasper Yanga. That's it. Yep, there we go. We have a statue of him out there, I believe. Go down.
Holding a machete.
Yep. Read that. Gasper Yanga or Nyanga. Go ahead.
Gasper Yanga, often simply Yanga, Nyanga, 1545, 1618, was an African who led a maroon colony.
Go ahead. Because the word maroon, the Spanish gave us that name as we were wild, like wild dogs or wolves or fierce. Maroon. That goes back to the word. That goes back to what they call this in Spain, I believe. They call this it means swine.
Yeah.
They called the Jews swine. It means maroon. They're called the Jews maroon.
Were they Moros?
Moranos became maroons, which is referring to the rebellious Jews pretty much.
Savages.
Savages, right. That all fell into the same category. Go ahead.
Was an African who led a maroon colony of enslaved Africans in the highlands near Veracruz, Mexico, then New Spain. During the early period of Spanish colonial rule, he successfully resisted a Spanish attack on the colony in 1609. The Maroons.
Ain't that before Nat Turner?
Oh, yeah.
That's before Nat Turner.
Yeah.
Very much.
They're not going to speak on these things.
Yeah,
but we are. Go ahead.
The Maroons continued their raids on Spanish settlements. Finally, in 1618, Yanga achieved an agreement with the colonial government for self-rule of the Maroon settlement. It was later called San Lorenzo de los Negros and also San Lorenzo de la Carabobo.
So basically, it's St. Lorenzo of the blacks. That's what it means. Go ahead.
In the late 19th century, Yanga was named as a national hero of Mexico.
A black man was named the national hero of Mexico. Go ahead.
The first liberator of America.
Go ahead.
In 1932, the settlement he formed, located in today's state of Veracruz, was renamed as Yanga in his honor.
See that? So we don't go down to early life?
Yeah, let's go down.
Let's go that. Some good stuff there.
Yanga, a.k.a. Nyanga, was said to be of the Brand people, Brahmis.
Watch.
And a member of the royal family of Guinea-Bissau.
So royal family. He was a prince. Go ahead.
He was captured and sold into slavery in Mexico, where he was called Gasper Yanga. Before the end of the slave trade, New Spain had the sixth highest slave population, estimated 200,000 of the Americas after Brazil, over 4.9 million. The Caribbean, over 4 million. Cuba, over 1 million. Hispaniola and the United States, half a million. Around 1570, Yanga led a band of slaves in escaping to the highlands near Veracruz.
He ran to the mountains. Go ahead.
They built a small maroon colony, or Palenque.
Yeah, some of y'all know about that place, Palenque. Yeah, a lot of Afro-Mexicans live there now, I believe. Go ahead.
Its isolation helped protect it for more than 30 years. And other fugitive slaves, what is happening? And other fugitive slaves found their way there because the people survived in part by raiding caravans, taking goods along the Camino Real, Royal Road, between Veracruz and Mexico City.
Let's go down, read attack, capture on the right-hand side right there. Read that.
Attack and capture of the
come on, man. Who speaks French over here? Come on, man.
Cat, where you at?
Mr. President.
Crete perot.
Mr. President.
Crete.
Go to the picture. Go. I just want to see the picture. Go. Let me see. Okay.
That's Levi, I believe. The North American slave revolts.
Thank you, man. Come on.
Hurry up.
Everybody called for a purpose.
You're gonna pronounce this word, man. We need assistance.
Go ahead, make it up for us.
make it up for.
See, tell us what it means when you pronounce it. Right. Crit e Peru.
Prince of Judah.
Ajuda.
Judah of Haiti.
Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Crit Pierrot.
What's that mean?
I'm your president. Oh, gosh.
You know what it means?
Yo,
All right, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Why would we bring you on the show? What the hell?
We can pronounce it right. Crit e Peru.
Nah,
Perio.
I got it. Hey, somebody look it up on the Google translation.
So yeah,
Let's put it in.
so in the Haitian Revolution by Auguste Rafet,
And
engraving by Ernest Hedbert.
Hedbert.
So
Go down. Dig, you want more?
nah, just go down to the bottom. This is the 1802. This is before the Haitian Revolution.
Yeah.
This is before. Before Nat Turner, before the Haitian Revolution, you had Jasper Yanga already in Mexico liberating our people.
That was hundreds of years before.
Hundreds of years before. Hundreds of years before. It's not. It's unspoken of. I'm telling you. Go down. I'm not read all. There's too much to read. So go down. Go down. Go down. Warnings. Yanga's maroons only plunder the haciendas and farms within reach. Yeah, we was just doing damage, man. 1609 attack. Puebla, January, go down. Spends a few terms in battle. That's all I want. So that's all I want. So read that on your own. Jasper Yanga. All right, that was the first.
He notice he go back to the
Wikipedia.
no, the picture of Gasper Yanga real
He'll be
quick.
called a Yanta today.
Yanta.
Yeah.
Go back to the picture real quick.
Yanta, yeah.
It means tire.
Hey, so you see he has a machete, he has a stick in his hand. That style of fighting was called grima. Grima, yeah, it's called grima. You can look it up. That style of fighting.
Oh, I'm studying.
The machete and the stick.
It's called Grima.
It's called grima. If you can look it up real quick, Deke, I don't
Look it up.
take away-
Go there. Look it up. Grima.
Go to
It's a
grima.
style of swordsmanship.
Yep, style of
Wow. So
swordsmanship.
this guy was doing damage then.
He was born a slave too, so he must have been taught that by some elders.
Right. Yep.
Because he was born in Mexico as a slave.
Oh.
And a lot of the
I thought
Maroons
he was brought. No, he was brought
No,
here.
he was born in Mexico in like 1545.
and brought here as a slave.
No, he was born in Mexico as a slave.
No, bro, we just read it.
He was brought over here.
We just read that.
He was brought from Gabon or Guinea-Bissau.
Let me see. Look at
But
you,
hey, look up grima. Just put Grima. Grima. Put sword fighting grima. Come on, hurry up, because I don't want to take away from.
Damn.
Right, so grima is a
fencing style.
right.
Oh.
Grima is a Colombian martial art. This fencing style uses a machete, but students usually practice with wooden sticks or wooden swords. So they have it where with the machete and the wooden sticks or wooden swords, that's how they practice. But that's the style of fighting that the Maroons used.
Hey, was that video we watched? It kind of looked like a dance that they
Yes,
was doing.
yes.
Yeah.
Cat
Yep.
was playing that joint.
Yeah.
Grima came about during the colonial period of Colombia, so it spread from Mexico to Colombia then. It was developed among the Afro-Colombian community.
Yep.
So Asher and Issachar pretty much, as usual, coming together in this march. We was beating ass. Like Capoeira in Brazil. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, we got the same kind of fighting style in the islands too.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the
Deke,
machete.
oh, my fault.
No, you go.
Now I was gonna mention too that shows that we are the best fighters because
Yeah.
all the
Hands
best
down.
techniques
Hands down.
it comes from a rhythm of dance that you have to use in order to learn it.
Even with boxing.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
even dancing is all they call it jutsu.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
technique. It's what we have. It's what we do.
You gotta
Break
feel that.
bone. There's a scene. It's in Star Trek though, but it's kind of off the top. But that's what he says, and his name is Khan. His name is Khan. He was a villain in Star Trek Into the Darkness. It was part 2. It was the best one. And he says to him, "What do you know about damn? Let's play that scene real fast. I'm gonna show you what he said. Let's go to Star Trek Khan Break Bone. Star Trek KHAN Break Bone. There's a certain scene where he just makes it clear. Like sometimes our people are like this at this time in slavery. They were like this. Give me Ecclesiastes 7:7. This brother, this is what he used. All right, this is what he used. We can't do this now, but we do it spiritually all the time. Break bone. Ecclesiastes 7:7 and Hebrews 4:12. Read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7.
Yeah, right there. That scene right there, but he's behind, not there, but he's behind the yeah, right there. That's it. That's the one.
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Now you watch this scene here. He's the villain. Khan's the villain here. He's superhuman. Him and his crew are superhumans, and they feel anyone who's not them, who's not their race, which is us, are inferior. He just take over, dominate. So the humans eventually took him captive, used him, took his blood like they do us, and used it for experiments and so forth. It's like super blood. It can regenerative abilities, whatever. His name is Khan. So they capture him, and he's killing like politicians. They don't know why he's doing it, and he explains why. So press play. Watch this. This 14 minutes should be here. Press play. Come on.
Press play.
Press play, brothers.
Okay. Got you. You don't get shut down halfway. I got you.
What was the one in Hebrews you want to do?
4:12. But come on, no sound. We don't hear nothing.
Intellect alone is useless in a fight.
Rewind it again. Rewind it again. Go on.
To exploit my savagery. Intellect alone is useless in a fight. Mr. Spock, you can't even break a rule. How would you be expected to break bone?
Pause. See, that's how people didn't play games. They broke rules, and they were able to break bones. So that slave, ain't no slave, I'm going to destroy you. We was doing. We were killing Esau. Levi did it. Issachar was doing it. Benjamin was doing it. Judah did it. We broke bones. We ain't play with these people.
Right.
And we're going to do it again in the kingdom. We're going to do it again and worse.
Yeah.
We're going to do terrible things to you nations. Terrible things.
Yeah.
Especially you Arabs. Especially, oh, man. Oh, whew. Especially y'all. Because y'all doing slave trade right now, man.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for y'all at all. Israel is flattening you.
Right.
I feel nothing.
Right.
Nothing. You're holding your babies in your hands crying. I feel nothing. Because you guys out there raping our women, selling them as slaves, keeping it secret with the Europeans. I feel nothing. Nothing whatsoever. I don't feel a single shed. I shed no tears for you.
Yeah.
Don't care.
That's right.
Hebrews 4:12.
Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 12. For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged
The
sword.
word of God that we use is quick and more powerful than any two-edged sword. Go ahead.
Piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit,
Go ahead.
and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart.
Not only do we cut spirits, we cut people's opinions, we cut their feelings. All that get cut at the same time. The spirit's on you, homosexual spirit, whore spirit, gangster spirit, thug spirit. We cut all of that. We piss people off. The word of God in our mouth is fire, and people become wood. It's that simple.
Right.
We do damage, and we do it well. Go back to the book now. Come on.
As such, Africans and Chinos, I'm going to start up at Doe. Though on a far smaller scale, the transpacific slave trade served the same function as the Atlantic slave trade, which delivered
It
thousands.
served the same function as the Atlantic slave trade. It's the same people doing the same thing on different sides of the world. Go ahead.
Which delivered thousands of Africans to Mexico during this same period. Both slave trades transported people who were meant to replace the indigenous labor force. As such, Africans and Chinos.
And Chinos. Africans and Chinos. And Chinos. Go ahead.
Ended up working in similar occupations.
Slaves. Occupations is slaves. I showed y'all earlier, 2 weeks ago, about the images of Chinos being dark. The word Chino means toasty, toasted, black. That's what the word means. The Israelites that lived in Asian lands were referred to as Chinos. Then later on in time, it became Chinese people. But prior to Chinese people, it was people, blacks from China or Japan or Philippines. They were referred to as Chinos. We're going to get that soon. Go ahead.
Which had previously been the reserve of indigenous workers. The majority of Chino slaves lived in cities, particularly in Mexico City and Puebla.
That's the same area that Gasper Yanga brought forth liberation. So the Chinos ran there too. Go ahead.
Where they worked as domestics or in the textile mills.
Domestics is a fancy term for slave. It's still domestics. Go ahead.
The one major difference between African and Chino slaves.
There you go. That's how you know domestics goes back to what I said. The difference between African and Chino slaves. Go ahead.
Is that very few Chinos worked in the large sugar
Haciendas.
haciendas. Sugar production throughout the Americas was singularly associated with African labor from the 16th through the 19th centuries.
Okay.
Slave masters characterized Chinos as good domestic servants, so they regularly placed special orders with traders to bring them Chino slaves for their households. According to Ramos, Catarina
Go ahead.
traveled to Mexico at the request of Captain Miguel de Sosa, a Portuguese resident of Puebla. A few years earlier, Sosa had asked a compatriot to send a modest and attractive chinita.
Modest and attractive Chinita. So Chino and Chinita. Go ahead.
To serve as a comfort for him and his
A
spouse.
slave woman. Go ahead.
And the Portuguese trader had promised to do so on his next transpacific trip.
Go ahead.
According to Costello, on the other hand, Catarina had initially been selected to work in the household of the Marquis de Goelves, Viceroy of New Spain. The Viceroy has placed a special order for pretty and graceful slaves for his palace.
He placed a special order for pretty and graceful slaves for his palace. Go ahead.
And Catarina had been sent to
Acapulco.
for his excellency service. As it turned out, the galleon carrying Catarina arrived during a season of heavy rains.
So the galleon carrying Catarina, the galleon's a boat, a ship, carried her in heavy rains. Go ahead.
Which caused large-scale flooding and general chaos in Mexico City and resulted in the Viceroy's staff being unable to pick her up at the port. The broker thus had to offload Catarina on the next interest party, who happened to be Captain Sosa. Whatever the actual details, it is evident that wealthy individuals living in Mexico place regular orders for the delivery of Chino slaves to work in their households.
These are Spaniards. Go ahead.
One reason for this market preference for Chino servants is that most of them were more acculturated than African slaves on arrival. Most Chino slaves spent months and even years in the hands of Portuguese traders before they arrived in Manila.
The same place where Ali fought Foreman. Still in Manila. That was a massive, major slave port. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you. Go ahead.
During that time, they learned about Hispanic culture and Christianity.
You learned about Hispanic culture, like a lot of y'all today, proud of that. Hispanic culture. Hispanic culture is Portuguese and Spanish culture. It's not yours. For you so-called Latinos out there, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, that's not your culture.
Yeah.
That's your slave master's culture. That you blackified or Native Americanified, whatever the hell it is, and made it your own. Go ahead.
Then in Manila, slaves had to wait months for the galleon to sail, which happened once a year. Slaves worked in Spanish households or in other urban occupations. Catarina, for example, worked in private homes during her stays in Cochin.
Wow, stays in where?
In Cochin. And then in Manila, acquiring skills and cultural knowledge that helped her meet the demands of subsequent masters. More importantly, Catarina learned about the centrality of religion in Hispanic society.
Catholicism. Go ahead.
She embraced Christianity and then adopted ascetic practices.
That's what most of us do. We became slaves. We learned the doctrine of our slave master. Go ahead.
Depriving her body of food and comfort as part of her spiritual practice. Catarina, in other words, became a model of piety. She was selfless and dedicated to living a spiritual life and ignoring worldly concerns.
So our focus on right now eventually is how she looked, because she was a Chino and she was a slave. So we don't know how she looked. We're going to get to that. Go ahead.
From the Spanish perspective, Catarina was an exemplary slave, dutifully bearing the physical burdens of bondage to free her soul. She gave public thanks to the church for directing her soul to Christian salvation.
She was a brainwashed slave. That's all that means.
Like Catarina, other Chino slaves expressed a dedication to Christ that embodied the kind of religiosity favored by contemporary churchmen.
Slaves became indoctrinated by a white man. Go ahead.
Who imagined the creation of a new godly order among the natives of Mexico and the Philippines.
Among the natives of Mexico and Philippines. Go ahead.
Catarina had the admiration of high prelates and the adoration of devotees who flocked to her.
Jump down to verse 7, to go to page 17. I don't jump too much. I don't want to spend my whole time reading this book. Page 17? Huh?
That's 17.
Okay, go to page 18. Let me see. I want. Catarina was not mobile figure. Puebla had a large Spanish nuns.
No, that's it.
But,
Oh wait.
go to Chino slaves.
Juan de Esperanza, who was go up.
Wait. Go up. You see,
Juan de Esperanza de Santa, who was similarly famous for her.
Yeah, go up to notably Catarina.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Notably, Catarina was not the only religious figure adopted in this manner.
Because what happened was when the slaves reached a certain level of brainwashing, they were reverent. They were like revered. Oh wow, look at this good nigga. Oh wow, honorable slave nigga here. Wow, look at her. She's so pious and holy and righteous. That's all it means. Go ahead.
Puebla had a large reading public that was eager for
Puebla had a large
Puebla had a large reading public that was eager for hagiographies about local holy people, who were nearly all Spanish nuns, priests, and friars.
Spaniards. Go ahead.
No one, however, stepped forward to promote the canonization of Catarina's contemporary Juana Esperanza de San Alberto.
So prior to Catarina, you had another slave named Juana Esperanza de San Alberto. Go ahead.
Who was similarly famous for her piety.
Watch.
Juana was of African ancestry.
Juana was of African ancestry. She was a slave. Go ahead. Slave woman. Go ahead.
Which Poblanos likely saw as an insurmountable barrier to sainthood, given the widely accepted idea that black skin was a marker of bad blood.
See that? So they were revered because they were black and holy. Remember, having black skin and being godly in the eyes of white folks is impossible. So because these women, I guess they had this skin color and were seen as righteous and pious in the Catholic faith, they were like a mystical anomaly to white folks. Like, ooh, wow, ooh, righteous Negroes. It's a mockery, basically. Go ahead.
In contrast, Catarina's religious fervor brought her freedom and fame. Her ancestry, go ahead. Which was equally problematic, in that her blood relations were either Muslim or Hindu.
Either Muslim or Hindu. Go ahead.
Was not visibly
from India or the Arabs. Go ahead.
Was not visibly apparent as it was for Juana.
So her features are not visibly apparent. So Juana was obviously a black woman, but Catarina's a little bit different. Read on.
Making it easier for Poblanos to ignore.
Because she had features that kind of made her look, black, but she could pass for something else. Read on. Watch.
Chino slaves found it opportune to self-fashion their public identities according to Christian expectations, allowing them,
Meaning assimilate and blend in. That's what that means. Go ahead.
For example, to foster favorable bonds with their masters, who might be persuaded to grant them liberty. Catarina was manumitted just 5 years after arriving in Puebla in 1619.
Wow. Go ahead.
It is not clear whether she asked Captain Sosa for this gift or if he was simply prompted to manumit her.
Manumit means free her. Go ahead.
As an act of Christian charity.
Jump to the next page. Let's just go through it. Blow up some. Let me see. The first. Okay, here we go. It's good stuff. Let me see. Go to the new convents. Now the convents up top, right there.
Now the convents in Mexico had purity of blood requirements.
Stop. The convents in Mexico had purity of blood requirements. That goes back to when Spain conquered us during the Inquisition. Many of the Spanish crown and the Moors that reigned over Spain for 700 years, when the Edomites gained authority and power, a lot of the Moors began to have intermarital relationships with these Edomites and had a bunch of so-called mixed babies. And so when the Edomites finally conquered the Moors and gained authority back over Spain again, the reconquering of Spain and Portugal, many of for example, King Ferdinand and Isabella. King Ferdinand's grandmother was a Moor. She was a black woman. Historically, they say that his grandmother or mother's side was black, the black side. And there's a story that goes that there was a Spanish king that said, I have the book. He says, I want all the Jews and Moors to wear a yellow hat and a yellow bandage to let us know what they are. And his servant said, okay, I'll do that, but you got to put one on too. Because he had nigger blood, he had oil in his veins. So their fathers are white, because they remember that the white men married the Moor women, or the black men married the white women, vice versa. So King Ferdinand's daughter, later on, I think her name was Catalina, I forgot her name. She ended up marrying Henry VIII. So she was an Edomite, but she was dark because of her father's maternal side. That's another. That goes into King James. That's another story. I'm giving y'all a bit of a tidbit, a sneak peek of what I'm going into with King James stuff. Henry VIII, I'm going to get to that. Henry VII, the second, Longshanks, King Edward, I'm going to that, but that's later on. The point is that our people, the Edomites, when they took over, once they mixed with black folks, they start to heavily deport the blacks and start to lay with each other to purify their blood of all the black in them. So they called it sangre azul. That means blue blood or pure blood. You had to be a pure blood to be a convert. The Edomite converts to Israeli or Judaism, they had to be sangre azul or blue blood or pure blood. That was a national Spanish standard once the Moors were conquered. We got to flush our blood out of these Negroes. So that's what ended up happening. So, and that's why it says here, in Mexico, under the Spaniard rule, they had to have purity of blood because the Edomites know historically that they mixed heavily with the blacks when we ruled over them, even over there in Italy. The Italians, they hate Sicilians because Sicilians got that nigger blood in them that we had from the time we conquered them over there for those 12 years of Hannibal and them. So they call them, Italians are referred to as Guineas. The word Guinea means the black because Italians know the history of how blacks was, I'm without being graphic, we got it in over there. We got it in over there. Not to the point where we diluted the whole race, but we left behind a Negro impression on that people. So yeah.
Do you remember that movie? What's it called? True Lies.
True Romance. He told the story.
Say you part eggplant.
Yeah, your grandmother was a nigga. It was crazy. Anyway,
even Sicily is on the African continental too.
Yeah,
so it's part of Africa.
It's part of Africa. Yes, Sicily's part of Africa. Yes. What we doing?
Says now the convents in Mexico had purity of blood requirements.
Right. Go ahead.
The first provincial council forbade Indians.
Go ahead.
People of mixed descent and the descendants of Jews and Muslims from taking religious orders except in extremely rare cases.
So, descendants of Jews and Muslims. That those Jews there is not the converts. That's us there. And the Muslims is the Moors. That's us there too. So they shipped us to these areas. We didn't have any, we cannot be in certain religious orders. That goes back to the Inquisition, where Jews and Moors could not gain any level of authority in Spanish rulership at all that we once had when we ruled over them. You understand? That's why I said they had to have purity of blood requirements. You cannot have any Jew or more blood in your veins whatsoever in the Spanish crown. That's why. Read on.
As such, Caterina, unable to provide proof of her ancestry, would have been a servant rather than a nun at the Carmelite convent. Faced with a choice, Caterina took the second option, outlined in Sosa's testament. She remained in the service of Sosa's widow for 2 more years and was afterwards manumitted. Having agreed to forego.
Let's jump down. Let me see. She lived in the household of cleric Pedro Suarez.
Doesn't it get into how she looked?
It's going to. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Go to the next page.
It's the next page. It's on the top of a page.
Yeah, go up here.
It's not there either.
The documents received, Ramos' dedication, enslavement. Read Ramos' admiration for Caterina's dedication.
Ramos' admiration for Caterina's dedication might appear to be contradictory.
No, not these documents. Stop at the top. Damn.
These documents were evidence that she had worked to lift the burden of servitude from slaves in textile mills, which had notoriously appalling conditions, by paying for their liberty.
So she was trying to get her people freed from these slave conditions, because those are her people. Go ahead.
Ramos' admiration for Caterina's dedication might appear to be contradictory, as he simultaneously justified Caterina's enslavement.
He justified it because she was one of those people. Go ahead.
For having brought her to Christianity. Spanish theologians, however, maintained that slavery was an unnatural state, and churchmen encouraged masters to treat their slave with Christian charity and manumit them whenever possible. From Ramos' perspective, Caterina's actions followed in this tradition. There was surely a personal commitment on her part as well. Caterina ensured her own liberty and helped others join her because she could not bear a lifetime of bondage and confinement.
Go ahead.
Catarina also paid for the manumission of her short-lived husband, Domingo
Suarez. So she bought her own husband's freedom. Go ahead.
A Chino slave.
So she married her own. That's her brother. She married. These are our people. Go ahead.
Owned by her employer, Pedro Suarez.
Go ahead. Her boss. Go ahead. Now just jump down. So she married her own brother. Not her brother. I mean her brother. Her people.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go down to the marriage between Catarina and Domingo. The marriage between
Catarina and Domingo points to one of the ways Chino slaves interacted with the church.
Come on.
Catarina may have had a negative experience with matrimony, but most Chino slaves depended on the church to affirm and protect their right to have a socially respectable family.
Because slaves are not seen as human beings that can be married. The same over here. You get married, a white man can come and take your wife from you. They didn't see it as official marriage. We were animals to them. Read on. The church what?
The church, as an institution, played a critical role in the transformation of Chinos into Indians.
The church. Read again.
The church, as an institution, played a critical role in the transformation of Chinos into Indians.
Chinos turned into Native Americans because they brought them over to Mexico. They changed it. They gave them that name. Read on.
Churchmen grouped Chino slaves from Bengal.
Stop. From Bengal. Go back again. Go back. Churchmen what?
Churchmen grouped Chino slaves.
Churchmen grouped Chino slaves from Bengal. Bengal's like part of Bengali.
Yeah, it's on the northeast portion of India.
India, yes. Yeah. Go ahead. With what?
With Chinos who were actually from the Spanish Philippines.
See that? Why? Because they look the same. That's why. Those are people in those areas that they brought them over as slaves and they made them work and they mingled together. These are the same people, different parts of the world. Go ahead.
In doing so, they helped formulate the argument that all Chinos were Indians and should thus be protected from slavery as indigenous vassals.
So they treated the Chinos as Native Americans. Go ahead.
In this sense, Chinos changed their legal status because the church embraced them as Indians in their proselytizing mission.
So they only embraced them when they convert to Christianity. It's okay, I'm Native American. I'm a Native American Christian. So as a Native American Christian, I can get my freedom. Go ahead.
Catarina's hagiographers knew too much about the circumstances of her enslavement to articulate the idea that all Chinos were Indians.
Because they weren't, but that was the thing that they fell under later on in time, being brought over here as to work slave labor over this side of the world. Go ahead.
Knowing her to be from the Indian subcontinent, they did, however.
Knowing her to be from where?
The Indian subcontinent.
That's where she came from, the Indian subcontinent. Go ahead.
They did, however, reference some of the structural connections among Portuguese slavers.
Watch this.
The Manila slave market.
The Manila slave market. That's why in that slave atlas we read earlier, it said they brought the intra-slave trade from Philippines. The Manila slave market. Go ahead.
And the galleon trade, which helped explain why it was that people from all over Asia, including natives of the Philippines, came to Mexico as slaves, where they were all grouped together as Chinos.
Get on.
The Inquisition played an active role in this transformation. So its part in preventing Catarina from becoming a real saint requires explanation.
Let's jump down. What are inquisitors there?
Inquisitors therefore prohibited unsanctioned public cults and generally sought to dampen religious fervor.
So you had the Spanish inquisitors in Mexico. That's why they have that pure blood. That pure blood custom or right goes back to Spain and Portugal and it made its way to Mexico. That's why I wanted that part. Let's jump down to the next page where it discusses how she looks. We're going to find it. 22. Let me see. Unsatisfying images. Inquisition. Inquisitors. Censored Ramos. Go to the next page. His book was the Streamline, go to since the 15th century. Right there.
Since the 15th century.
No. Start from over and over again.
Over and over again, Ramos insisted that Catarina's enslavement had been necessary because slavery had made it possible for her to be baptized and live in Christendom.
So this is what white folks did. White folks said slavery was necessity because it trained black folks to be civilized and learn God. That's the same justification that was used even on this side of the world. Go ahead.
Since the 15th century, one of the major justifications for the institution of slavery was that it benefited formerly pagan slaves to live among Christians.
AKA niggas, AKA savages, same thing. Uncivilized, same thing. Go ahead. That's another term for that. Goes into the civilized tribes. Native Americans, they call them the civilized tribes. Go ahead.
Ramos evoked this rationale when he wrote that Catarina's enslavement and Circuitous journey to Puebla had separated her from the thick and venomous malevolence of
Gentiles.
Sorry,
malevolence
of Gentiles.
Let's go down, next page. It's all right. Go, let me see, Chino. Yeah, we're going to get there. Hold on. Blow it up, son. Go to the top real quick. Try to find how she looked. Okay, read. The judges did not. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, in other words, let me see. Yeah, in other words, go to the top. In other words, right there. Go ahead.
In other words, some of the captives taken along with
What page are we in?
24.
All right, go ahead. We're going to start with 25. Go ahead. You take a break.
In other words, some of the captives taken along with Catarina successfully proved that they were not legal slaves because they had been kidnapped rather than captured in war.
Go ahead.
The episode is analogous to cases in Mexico in which Chino slaves went to court to sue for their freedom based on illegal enslavement.
Right, because they were snatched up. There wasn't no war. They were snatched up and sold off by Portuguese. Go ahead.
The judge's decision did not pertain to Catarina, who remained in bondage.
She remained a slave. She was not given her freedom or manumission. Go ahead.
The Portuguese who seized her had not listed her name on the ship's registry.
Because she was property. She didn't put her name on put her name there. Go ahead.
Which meant that there was no record of her arrival at Cochin.
Mm-hmm.
In consequence, Catarina remained invisible to the court officials who may have been able to help her.
Go ahead. Go jump down to, he read the documents. Read there.
He read the documents that had once been in the possession of Captain Sosa that testified to her slave status. Ramos found it peculiar that Sosa had not received a slave deed confirming the purchase. Instead, Catarina had been sent with several letters documenting the price paid for her at the Manila slave market.
She was bought from the Manila slave market. I'm going to keep stressing that. Manila slave market. Manila slave market. Jump down to the new constitution. Let me see the decline of market. Yeah, go down to, let me see. Go to go up some. Start from one result.
One result of this concern over legal title was that fewer people purchased Chino slaves to avoid the possible loss of property, which had the added consequence of reducing the demand, driving the transpacific trade.
The demand of Chino slaves that was driving the transpacific trade. Go ahead.
The decline in the market for Chino slaves thus worked in conjunction with other social and cultural changes to bring about the end of Chino slavery.
Come on.
The reconstitution of Chinos into Indians also involved a heightened awareness of their physical features.
Here we go. The reconstitution of Chinos into Native Americans or Indians of the Americas also involved a heightened awareness of their physical features. Come on.
As people in Mexico look to Chinos' physiognomy to identify them as Indians.
Because they favored each other. Black, whether it be Negro features or Asian features. The real small eyes, high cheekbones. Northern Kingdom already had those features on us over here on this side of the world, and we had them over there, other parts of the world. We had mingled ourselves with, remember, our forefathers the nation of Israel had 5 different mothers. Give me that real quick, Genesis 38. We're going to take a break after this. Oh, they don't look like us. Their physiognomy, they look Asian. Y'all don't understand. Genesis 30. I read it yesterday, too. Hold on. 35. Hold on. 35 and read verse 22.
The book of Genesis.
23.
Chapter 35 and verse 23. The sons of Leah, Reuben.
So Leah was an Israelite woman, like Jacob. So, was a Hebrew woman, because he wasn't Israelite yet. Right. Was a Hebrew woman like Jacob. Leah, okay? So Reuben is her firstborn. Go ahead, 1.
Jacob's firstborn. And Simeon.
2.
And Levi.
3.
And Judah.
4.
And Issachar.
5.
And Zebulun.
6. And she had Dinah. That's 7 kids. He had 7 children out of 7 children out of the 13 they had. She gave him 7. All right? So that's his own kind, right? His own kin. Go ahead.
The sons of Rachel.
Rachel will be also a sister, a Hebrew like Jacob. These are his own women, his own kind. Gave him what?
Joseph.
Go ahead. That's what. Shit. That's damn. I counted Dinah. So that's 8, 9. Go ahead.
And Benjamin.
8, 9. Yeah. 8, 9. Go ahead.
And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali.
Go ahead.
And the sons of
So
Zilpah.
Bilhah was a heathen.
Right.
She was not our people. We don't know what she was, but she was not. She was more like a Hamite. She was not our people. Okay. So these are heathen women here. Bilhah was a heathen woman. Gave him Dan and Naphtali. Go ahead.
And the sons of Zilpah.
It's another heathen woman. Go ahead.
Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher.
So Gad and Asher came from a woman that was not a Hebrew woman. So the features that Gad has, with their eyes are like real small and their bones, it might be from our mother. We had 4 different mothers. And if you count Joseph, we had 5. Because he married an Egyptian woman. So we had 4 different women. And these were women. You have Hamites with Asian features. Give me real quick the Khoisan people. I'll show you.
Hey, Deke, also, you had in the book of Esther. Esther had a different...
Esther, she was Benjamin. She passed for a Persian woman.
She had a different look.
And both her parents was Benjamin. Right. Give me Khoisan people. I'm going to show you an example. Hamites, looking like Asians. And the Bantus came in contact with these people and intermingled with them. And that's how you got Hottentot Venus, Sarah Bartman. Yeah, blow it up. Look at him. Look at his eyes. Look at his face. This is Ham. Ham, so-called Ham, or Bantu now, because most of them Bantu took over. But they intermingle with the Khoisan people. Go to another image of them. Khoisan is more. It's more better ones than that one. Go to images. Khoisan. There we go. Go that one to the left. That one. Yep. Blow it up. Blow it up. Blow it up. Blow it up. Look at that one. I'm telling you, cannot deny the history, man. So these are children, people of Bantu or Khoisan. That's them. We mingle with them. We intermingle. So you can say Gad looked like this. Asher looked like this. You don't know. We had 4 different mothers. 4. Get some more images of them. The Bantus intermingle with them. So a lot of these are people now, because most of them we wash them out pretty much. You know how we do. We come over, we come in, we come in and we wash out. We wash you out. We take over.
Clear it out.
Clear it out.
In the first generation.
Yeah. That's all we do. All you need is one Negro. One. He go in there and do damage. Look at Ethiopia. They all look exactly the same. That's one dude. That's one dude up in there just beating the doonies out of all the women everywhere, just beating everything down. Everybody look the same. They all look the same.
A bunch of Aries running around there.
Yeah, man, they all look the same. What else we got? Got any more pictures of the Khoisan? We got a few more. We had 4 different mothers. So all this phenotype. Just stop talking, man. So this is them right here, possibly Hammer. Damn, titty out. No, that was this.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank you for putting the titty out. Yeah. Go on the next page. We brothers get spirits on y'all.
That's crazy.
All right. So you got here. That's obviously us there. That's definitely us there.
They try to redeem themselves from that last
Thank
time.
you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
All right. So again, Jacob had 2 heathen women, and he had 2 of our own ones. So we're gonna land real quick. We'll come right back in about 5. I ran over. It's 2:30. Did I run over or 2 minutes?
2:32.
All right. So I ran over a little bit. So we'll be right back in about 5 minutes. So just to recoup. All right. So stay tuned.
If you burn anything in the furnace, what color does it get? Black. That's how dark Jesus Christ was.
Right.
So what does this prove? You've all been lied to. You've been living a lie all your life. Not just you, your mothers and their mothers and their mothers. All your mothers have been living a lie.
God only give us his laws. The Israelite was the only one. He's the only one God give his laws to. That's the advantage we have over all the other nations. That's what some of you Papa New Guinea don't understand. There's a great advantage for God's laws.
You're going to be brought back to your memory that you're the greatest people that God created. The only way God's going to really start loving you again, when you come out of your sins and start repenting for all the evil you've been doing, eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. The Bible has always been the book of the people of Papua New Guinea. But we had the white people, Caucasians, the Germans, the French, the Dutch, the Australians gave us their religion.
Who are the saints?
Even the children of Israel.
No, I thought it was LNG white woman.
The children of Israel.
Thomas, who are the saints? I know y'all.
I am so blessed to have the team, the group. So blessed to finally meet up with Bishop Nathaniel.
Jesus Christ's color is like a white Christian, and that's one thing that I learned now. He's colored black just like me.
That was quite difficult for me to swallow what was being taught here because of the type of teachings that we were receiving. Through the way you've been teaching and you're telling us where we're from. We're from Papua New Guinea, we're from Israel, we're part of the tribes, and teaching us the connections and the scriptures, and let no man teach you but let the scripture teaching. The way you've taught us, the way you've unfolded things is life-changing.
And we know that the history that we are Malitan, we are the part of Israelites.
And from the islands of the sea. Where else would the Israelites be? The islands of the sea. What is this place called? The Solomon Islands. So what is God telling us? There's Israelites in Solomon Islands. What does that say about you Papua New Guineans? That you're the Israelites. You are the real Jews according to the Bible. And we can further prove that, brothers and sisters. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. To who? Israel. To who? Israel. No, the white man. Israel. No, the Chinese man. Israel. Jesus Christ said, I only was sent to die for the children of Israel.
That's what y'all haven't realized yet. You haven't realized y'all are the sons and daughters of the living God. Y'all are the Israelites. And you got to come back to keep his law, statutes, commandments in righteousness and know who you are according to the scriptures.
What were the children of Israel just called? I can't hear y'all. So who are the saints in the Bible? There we go!
Second Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east.
Because we read earlier about Armageddon. All these things that's taking place is going to happen in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East. That's where all this is going to pop off. That's when World War III takes place. That's where the nations come together and go to war. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we're anticipating. Go ahead.
Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia.
The nations of the dragons of Arabia. Right now, the Israelis are destroying and bombing the hell out of the Arabians. And they're getting pissed off. And right now they're taking it, they're getting destroyed. The men, the women, the children, they're getting flattened by the Israelis and the American alliance, the American assistance they're receiving. But be mindful, understand that all these Arabs, of all these Muslim factions, whether it be Shiite or Sunni, all these Arab nations eventually, according to prophecy, are going to come together and they're going to fight back. It's going to spark our revolution. It's going to spark our deliverance.
6, 5, 4,
Jerusalem's a burdensome stone. You should have left the people alone. When Christ come back to sit on the throne, it's over and done, your people are gone. Come on, watch your back with all this bombing going on in Gaza. You might be shopping in the mall and they blow up the plaza. These Palestinians, they lost their children and their mama. How they gon' deal with the trauma? They gon' turn into Obama. They waging jihad, a holy war is now emerging. It's gon' get crazy like that movie when they started purging. When they retaliate, you know they getting down and dirty. Vengeance in their eyes, they thirsty, they ain't.
We're back from the break. We're gonna jump back into this. We're gonna jump back into it again. Oh gosh.
Thank you. We appreciate you made that.
No, the handmaidens are not half sisters. They were just handmaids. It doesn't say that there was half sisters in them at all. Regarding to Yamita's question, I believe in the comments. No. Let's jump to where were we at? Go back to the book again. Go back to the book. I'm trying to fly through the pages as fast as I can because I got a lot more books. So the Constitution of Indians, blah, blah. Next page.
This should be it.
This should be it here.
Yeah, this is it.
Commented repeatedly. Go ahead. About her what?
Commented repeatedly about her physical appearance.
Hers is Katarina's. Go ahead.
And her similarity to Native Indians.
Now remember, she was from Cochin. Okay, which is India, a part of India where the Israelites resided. Go ahead. Matter of fact, hold that, get that map real quick, where she was brought from. You know I want the Gabi map, red map, the India. The Gabi map, you know what I want. You know we run there all the time. Y'all should know that joint like clockwork. Yep, blow it up, go to the bottom.
We got Chino over here.
Yep, Chino, right there. See, that's what she was. Right here, Cochin. Then they shipped her over. Okay, and yeah, Bengal, which is, well, go up to the top. Bengal should be on this map.
No, Bengal's on about Calcutta on the right.
To the right, go to the right.
Yeah.
Go up.
Bengal is around near Calcutta and all that right there.
Go up.
That's right on the coast.
Yeah, somewhere around, yeah.
It's on the coast. You see them lines, the ridges, right? Yeah, that's where Bengal is. Yep.
Okay, so go back over to Cochin where she was from. Got the Konkan Coast or Malabar Coast. To keep that in mind too. Malabar Coast, Cochin, that's where she was brought from. So let's go back.
Hey, somebody made a good point on here too in the comments. Said we even had different accents among the tribes.
Yes.
Like in Judges, where they say, "Oh, say this word, and we'll know what tribe you are."
Yep. You did. Go ahead. So regarding her physical appearance and her what?
Similarity to Native Indians.
Right. Go ahead.
According Ramos, Katarina was once a very beautiful woman.
So this is a white man saying, according to, so this like Esau always got some mystical, magical story to tell, but it makes so damn sense.
It's like the Jehovah's Witnesses, is it? Or the ones that say that we turn black because of our curse?
Mormons. Yeah, that was the Mormons.
Nephi,
yeah, second Nephi 521 down. Yep, watch this.
With white skin.
So he's saying that she once had white skin. Now remember, she resembled a Native American. But she once had white skin. I mean, she was Native Americans or what? They were black. But he's saying once upon a time, she was white and very beautiful. Go ahead.
Silver hair.
She had white hair.
A broad forehead.
Go ahead.
And glittering eyes.
Watch this.
Katarina, on the other hand, opposite of what was just read. Go ahead. Thought her appearance was a curse.
She thought her appearance was a curse because in Christianity, the beautiful features is white skin, silver hair, and bright eyes. What? White supremacy. Go ahead.
So she asked God to make her ugly.
Go ahead.
Soon after, her hair and face darkened.
Go ahead.
And she became a toasted China.
So it goes back to the word Chino. That means toasted. Black. Go ahead.
And a hazelnut-colored Indian.
Because she's black. That's what it means. Or a brown woman. Go ahead.
Ramos, in other words, equated brownish skin with Chinos and indigenous people.
Go ahead.
And his contemporaries likely did the same, grouping all non-African dark people with Indians.
So those who are already in America were referred to as Chinos or brown hazelnut skin, whatever the case. And then those who were brought over from Africa, obviously, it's self-explanatory. But she was a black woman. That's the point. She passed as Native American. That's the point I'm bringing across. They brought her over because, remember, they were trying to replenish the Native Americans that they conquered and killed off. Because if she favored them, they said, okay, go in there and mix with them and make more of them. Because they were bringing more of Northern Kingdom over from these areas to this side to replenish them. Because that's why I said that they focused on the physical features of the Chinos. Because they already saw, okay, these look more black, bring the black ones over. These look more native, bring the natives over. Let them replenish and make them more slaves. Esau knew what he was doing because God moved him to do it. God moved him to do it. That's the point. Now, what I want, let's go what page we at? What page is this?
25.
Let's go to page 33. What was highlighted earlier? Would you go back? Go back. What you got there? Yeah, here we go. That's good. Read that. Go up some. Go up some. Go up some. Okay, go down. Go down to that part. Read that. The story.
The story, moreover, shows Katarina as having had deep empathy with indigenous people who, though free, were often treated no better than slaves.
So even when we got free, we were still treated as slaves. Read on.
Katarina thus participated in making the connection between Chinos and Indians,
Go ahead.
articulating her own ties to natives of Mexico.
Because they were the same people. They brought over more of Issachar, more of Asher, and more of all the tribes they conquered on this side from other parts of the world, including her, because she favored them, because they're all the same people. They brought Israelites over to replenish the Israelites that were killed off. That's what they did. That's all it's saying. Esau knew what he was doing. We brought this out in other books before where Esau knew who was what, who was where, what tribe, what group, they knew.
This goes to show that we still had an understanding that we were the same people.
Yes, that's what it proves. Go over next page 33. I think we're making this up as we go along. We're not. We're reading it. Go ahead.
The foundation of the Spanish Philippines gave rise to the transpacific slave trade.
The foundation of the Spanish colonized the Philippines. That's why they speak Spanish. And they gave rise, when they conquered it, or colonized it, to the transpacific slave trade. Read on.
Manila became the colonial outpost in Asia, where slaves were purchased.
Manila became the colonial outpost in Asia, where slaves were bought. Go ahead.
And the Manila galleon ships.
Galleon ships is where Katarina was brought on. Galleon's a very, very famous ship involved in the Trans-Pacific slave trade. The galleon. Read on.
Ships afforded transport to Mexico.
So the Americas. Go ahead.
The slave trade began soon after conquest and with considerable controversy.
Come on.
In 1570, Don Martin Enriquez de Almanza, the viceroy of New Spain, ordered the return of 15 slaves who had recently arrived from the Philippines. In his words, it was unwise for the natives of the Philippines to think that we consent to their ill treatment. Filipino Indians could potentially rebel against Spanish sovereignty if they realized that the colonists planned to sell them into slavery and ship them to Mexico. In addition, the viceroy feared that the few slaves who were Muslims, moros,
the few Muslims that were taken from these countries that were Moors, go ahead,
would dogmatize their sect.
Stop. Now that part is dangerous. So he's saying we gotta be mindful of these Muslims. They'll mess around and convert our Christians. They'll convert them. These Moors will convert our people out of Christianity. That was the fear of the Inquisition. Keep these Moors here. They're gonna convert people away from the Catholic Church. So they're dangerous here. Read on.
Among the Indians of Mexico.
So they were very careful of bringing blacks among the Native Americans of Mexico. Go ahead.
Among the Indians of Mexico and endangered the missionary project.
And to endanger the Catholic indoctrination. Go ahead.
The viceroy's efforts to discourage this commerce were in vain.
It didn't help. It didn't matter what he thought. Go ahead.
Slaves purchased in Manila were sent to Mexico throughout the 17th century.
Come on.
This chapter is about the Manila slave market and the indigenous Filipinos. Muslim war captives. What Muslim war captives? It was the Arabs that was selling us and enslaving us and shipping us all throughout these places. That's the Muslim war captives.
Even today, the southern portion of the Philippines, which is called Mindanao, is a highly Muslim area.
Yeah.
And there's still contentions between the northern portion of the Philippines and the southern portion, the Christians and the Muslims, which is the same people.
Same people fighting against each other. But the point is that the Muslim war captives were our people that were enslaved by the Arabs. And were brought and were shipped over because Islam was brought to these parts of Asian lands with slaves. It's like me bringing my dog along and then teaching you Islam while my slave is right here. That's how we got in these areas. I'm going to show you. Read on.
And other people who were sold there. It is a starting point for understanding the origins and ancestry of Chino slaves.
It is a starting point understanding the origins of ancestry of Chino slaves, which are either indigenous Filipinos or Muslim captives. were called Chinos. Go ahead.
Who lived in Mexico. Manila was a slave society during the 17th century. Slaves did the majority of the labor, and master-slave relations shaped the general social order.
The Spaniards, go ahead.
Within years after the Spanish conquest, the bustling port city had some 40,000 residents of diverse origins.
Go ahead.
A full quarter of this population was enslaved.
That's a lot of people. Go ahead.
There were craftspeople, manual.
Here we go. Get the map here. I want this map. Blow it up. We'll get to that. Manual. We'll get to that. Birthplace mentioned in the book. Birthplace is mentioned in the book. You got
Ambon,
Borneo, Java. That's just Javanese people. That goes to the Japhetic lands. Makassar, Maluku Islands, Indonesia. Bengal or Bangladesh, India. That's where Israel is. Ceylon, Sri Lanka, India, where Israel is. You got Japan, Macau, China, Malacca, Malay or Malaysian Islands, Muslim Philippines, Jolo, Mindanao, Zamboanga, Spanish Philippines, Cagayan, Calamian, Cameron, Cavite, Labo, Manila, Pampanga, Panay, Timor, go down. Java, Chino slave ships. Go down. Look. Chino slave origins. So all the places that's darkened is Chino slave origins. Wow. Go to the darkened spots. Java. These are all areas that we got shipped away from. Israel is all in these areas here, all throughout these islands.
And they got brought there from East Africa and the west coast of India.
Get me. That's why we're going over time. The Lord allow us to do so.
Notice Macau, too, in China.
Yep, and with your help, with Booster Club, you got to donate because we're going to visit. Because with your help, we've been able to visit these areas throughout the Polynesian Islands thus far. Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, and our people over there were like, yo, we know this. We are children of Israel. We knew our fathers told us that we came from there. And you guys being here is what our fathers told us, that people were going to come here and confirm that what you guys are saying is true. So when we got there, they told us to our face, and we got there, prophecies fulfilled. You guys are arriving here. Because we already knew this. We just need someone to confirm it. Now we know for certain it's true. See, I keep thinking we just some niggas, this crazy niggas just talking out of our head. If you want to. There is a God. Jeremiah 30. I'm going to show you some. I'll give you some. You go on these islands. Jeremiah 30. And get me verse. Hold on.
This is a faith booster, man.
Yeah, Jeremiah.
They were saying like they were waiting for the prophets to arrive
That's
and
what
confirm what their ancestors have been telling them for eons.
Yep. No, give me Isaiah. Let me say it. Hold on a second. Say something. When y'all say something, I'll find this thing.
Hey, that's just like what's the book? The Promised Lands.
Mm-hmm. Lost Tribes of Promised
Lost Tribes. Hey, do we have that book?
I got it. Isaiah 49 real quick. Sorry about that. Isaiah 49 and verse 1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 49 and verse 1.
Come on.
Listen, O isle.
Listen, O island. These are islands here. Listen, O isles. Go ahead.
Unto me, and hearken ye people from far.
From far, the far east. Go ahead.
The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name.
Referring to Isaiah. Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. And now, saith the Lord, that formed me from the womb to be his servant.
And to do what?
To bring Jacob again to him.
To bring Jacob again to him. Go ahead.
Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength.
This proves Isaiah will come back and will be pivotal in bringing the children of Israel back together again. He'll be back in these days doing this. He ain't doing it this time. But in the next lifetime, he did it. He does it. Or is doing it now. Whoever or wherever he is, he's doing it. Now, give me Jeremiah 30 and 10.
Jeremiah, chapter 30 and verse 10.
You mentioned O isles. Go ahead.
Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for, lo, I will save thee from afar.
I will what?
I will save thee from afar.
I will save thee from far. Go ahead.
And thy seed from the land of their captivity.
The land of their captivity. Go ahead.
And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid.
You're going to get delivered. Now give me Isaiah 41 and verse 1. Gotta pull precepts, man. I'm going to get cursed out. But that damn book. Get some scriptures in there. So Isaiah 41 verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 1.
Come on.
Keep silence before me, O islands.
Keep silence before me, O islands. Go ahead.
And let the people renew their strength.
We went out there and we renewed their strength. We taught them who they were according to the Bible, that they're the children of Israel, and they renewed their strength. They were happy. They were clapping their hands. They surrounded us by hundreds out there, taking heed, taking notes, all that stuff. We caused a stir on them islands. Go ahead.
Let them come near. Then let them speak.
Let them teach. Go ahead.
Let us come near together to judgment.
Let us learn this Bible and apply God's laws. Give me 42 and 4.
Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 4. He shall not fail, nor be discouraged, till he have set judgment in the earth.
Watch.
And the isles shall wait for his law.
The isles shall wait for his law. The prophets are going to be out there, Isaiah included, to be sent, because their line went forth through all the parts of the earth. Their line went forth. And the isles are going to wait to hear God's laws. Now, get me Isaiah 24, verse 14 and 15.
Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 14. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea.
From where?
From the sea.
From the islands. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Next verse.
Wherefore, glory ye the Lord in the fires.
The fires is the volcanic islands. The fires is the volcanic islands, where the islands is full of volcanic activity. Islands are formed from volcanoes. The lava cools down and makes an island. That's how it goes. Read again.
Wherefore, glory ye the Lord in the fires.
In the volcanic areas. Go ahead.
Even the name of the Lord
Watch.
God of Israel in the isles of the sea.
So the fires are called the isles of the sea because the isles of the sea are formed from fire, lava. Magma. They call it magma, I believe, right? It's the island. That's what it is. Give me Isaiah 42 and 4 again. I missed something.
Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 4. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. Sing unto the Lord a new song.
How? They're going to be taught that new song when we go travel these islands. Go ahead.
And his praise from the end of the earth.
End of the earth is the other side of the world, Pacific Ocean. That's the end of the earth. Go ahead.
Ye that go down to the sea.
Ye that what?
Ye that go down to the sea.
To the island. Come on.
And all that is therein.
All that is therein where? In the sea. Read on.
The isles.
The what?
The isles.
The what?
The isles.
The isles. Go ahead.
And the inhabitants thereof.
They're going to sing a new song to the Lord when the prophets go out there and reach them. Jump to verse 12.
Verse 12. Let them give glory unto the Lord.
Let them give glory to the Lord. Come on.
And declare his praise.
Where?
In the isles.
Where?
In the islands.
Where?
In the islands.
In the islands. Don't play with us, man, this Bible. Don't play games.
Good. That's right.
All right? So our people are going to hear the word of God, and they're going to give praise to his name in these islands. All right? A lot of them never heard this before. A lot of them never heard this before. Never heard before, but those are our people. Okay? And many of them were shipped off and brought to different parts of the world in the slave trade, especially the transpacific slave trade. Let's go back to the book now. All right, Bishop, see? You can't curse me out. I'll pull the scriptures. Go ahead.
That's right.
I get lost in the books, man. I know I get lost in the books, but the precepts support what the book is saying. Go ahead. Where we at? 34, 35?
Manual laborers and servants who upheld their master's social stature. By the 1620s, the city had 8,000 indigenous slaves and 2,000 foreign slaves.
Slaves brought from other parts. You had indigenous slaves in the Philippines and slaves brought from other parts of the world there. Go ahead.
In addition to an untold number of Muslim slaves.
Of Moors. Blacks. Go ahead.
The whole of the city was a slave market, supplying labor to Spanish colonists and indigenous elites. Slave auctions.
Indigenous elites were the heathens that inhabited that land because Japheth was there. Japheth is there. And they had us as slaves in those islands. There was like the Indians have a caste system. We had a caste system in the Philippines also. Japheth and Moab and them in those lands. And then Jake got over there and we became the lower level caste of them. That's why I read earlier, wherever Israel is, Egypt is there. They're in a bond state, a enslaved state, that's Egypt there. So the indigenous elites and the Portuguese got together and enslaved us while living in these islands that resided there for thousands or hundreds of years. Okay? That's why it says the indigenous elites. That was not us. That was the heathens in those islands, Japheth and them. Primarily Japheth.
Japheth and Moab.
Japheth and Moab, yes. Read on.
Slave auctions were held in the plazas found within the city's walls, and masters also sold slaves through individual transactions. The unorganized nature of the market makes it nearly impossible to quantify the volume of sales, but it is clear.
Clear what?
That Manila was an emporium for slaves.
A slave emporium. A slave warehouse.
Damn.
A slave mall. You got malls called something emporium. There's a slave emporium in Manila.
Let's look up the definition of
look up emporium. Look up emporium.
And also they had they didn't call Moab Chinos over there. They called them Sangalis.
Oh, Sangalis.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what they called them. So that's how you know that Chino didn't mean
apply to them originally.
It didn't.
Yes.
No, now it does, but not. It was originally for us.
Yep. Read that. Emporium.
Emporium, a large retail store selling a wide variety of goods.
Wow. Next one. Next one.
A business establishment that specializes in products or services on a large scale, often used for humorously formal effect.
Next one. Archaic.
Archaic, a principal center of commerce, a market.
Go back. I know what emporium means. If you didn't know, now you know. So retail outlet, a store, slave store. Go ahead. Manila what? Was a what?
That Manila was an emporium for slaves.
You got the message. Go ahead.
Masters from throughout the Spanish Philippines knew to come to the capital to secure chattel property.
Wow. Go ahead.
The chapter begins with the discussion of the legal and theological debates about slavery that took place among Spaniards in the Philippines. These conversations show that the diversity of the slave population raised concerns, which prompted officials to make clearer distinctions regarding people's legal status. The next three sections explain why the Manila slave market included such varied groups of people. First, we examine enslavement of native Filipinos and the continuation of the pre-contact labor system. Second, we turn to the Portuguese slave trade in the Indian Ocean world.
The Portuguese slave trade in the Indian Ocean world. Go ahead.
Which delivered slaves from as far as India to the Manila slave market.
I showed you earlier that the Jews that were living in India, the Portuguese took them captive, and the Indians helped them do it. The Elam helped them do it. Go ahead.
Third, we consider the consequences of Spaniards' ongoing war against Muslim chiefdoms in the Philippines, which justified enslavement of Moros,
blacks, go ahead,
under the just war theory. The chapter then returns to Manila, where colonial courts both liberated some slaves and legalized the enslavement of others.
Go down, the enslavement.
The enslavement of Indians was legally problematic because all natives of the Spanish colonies were theoretically protected from slavery after the new laws of 1542.
But it was still being done illegally. It didn't matter. Go ahead.
A royal decree from 1574 specifically outlawed indigenous slavery in the Spanish Philippines. But the exegesis of conquest and the colony's distant location delayed abolition for over a century.
So over 100 years, it continued going on regardless.
Remember, too, it says even though they were free, they were still being treated
as
worse
slaves.
than slaves.
Yeah.
So that was just on paper.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Go ahead.
The enslavement of Indians who belonged to the various ethnic groups that lived.
The enslavement of Indians who belonged to the various ethnic groups. Go ahead.
That lived in the islands under Spanish dominion had no legal justification. It was allowed allowed out of economic necessity.
Various means more or native. That's what it means. Go ahead.
Some royal officials expressed concern about the diverse origin of these slaves and questioned the legality of allowing the sale of individuals from Spain's colonies. Their reservations, however, did not prompt them to rectify the problem until the end of the 17th century, when the Crown categorically declared that all natives were indigenous vassals. After that, officials in Manila could no longer allow anyone, not even native elites, to own Indians from the Spanish Philippines.
What page is this?
36.
Next one. Go to 37.
This legal shift was brought about after long debate regarding Spain's role as
down to the highlight part.
Yes, sir. These foreign slaves were mainly transported by Portuguese traders.
Yep, watch.
Who brought slaves to Manila from regions as far as Mozambique.
There you go.
In East Africa.
And
the Malabar coast of the Indian subcontinent.
We showed you the map of who was living in these areas. We showed you the map. Black Jews, Cochin Jews, living along the Konkan and Malabar coast. They shipped us slaves to Manila from Mozambique, Zanzibar. Okay? Shipped to these areas to the far east. We focus a lot of our attention on the west coast of Africa, but the attention on the east coast is ignored or deliberately hidden. Right. All right? Read on.
The Portuguese usually provided slave titles or otherwise legalized their captives' status as slaves. So the lawfulness of their trade was rarely questioned. In that regard, Victoria
That's all I want. Go to the next page.
Highlight.
Let me see. After more then.
After more than a century of allowing these different legal frameworks, the Spanish government articulated a more cohesive policy about the institution of slavery and its justifications.
Come on.
The determinant.
I'm sorry, what page is this? So I know where I'm at. All right, go ahead.
The determinant for legal enslavement became foreign nationality, marked by skin color. Specifically, individuals with black skin, referencing their origins in sub-Saharan Africa.
That's where they got us from. Go ahead.
Were seen as legal slaves.
So now they want by color now. Go ahead.
Because their bodies provided physical proof that they or their ancestors had been enslaved in foreign lands.
Go ahead.
Where the Spanish crown had no responsibility to protect the native people.
Go ahead.
This idea about color as a physical marker only emerged after decades of legal wrangling and philosophical debate in the different colonial settings, including the Spanish Philippines and Mexico, about the legal basis of enslaving.
They tried to make it about color, but that didn't work because all of them are different colors. So that made it harder. Go ahead.
Indian slaves for the local and foreign markets. The Manila slave market included indigenous Filipinos throughout the 17th century for two main reasons. One, the institution of slavery existed in the Philippines long before the Spaniards arrived.
Stop. Why? Because they already had us, the indigenous elites already had us as their slaves on the islands. Japheth and Moab that were there had us as slaves already. The same way when the white man came to Africa and found us as slaves with the Arabs and Africans, the same way they found us in slavery on these islands with Japheth. It's the same thing. The curses followed us wherever we went. Give me that scripture. Going 28. We ran wherever we ran to, them curses followed. That's why I read earlier, Egypt was everywhere. The bondage of us was everywhere. You know I want? 28.
45.
Yes.
Read that, please.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee.
Shall what?
Shall pursue
Wherever
thee.
you migrate to, these curses are going to follow you. They're going to find you. Go ahead.
And overtake thee.
And overtake you, like the Fujis. They're going to find you and not take it slowly. Go ahead.
Damn. And overtake thee till thou be destroyed.
So you're cut in small numbers among these nations. Go ahead.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
You didn't listen to our God. Go ahead.
To keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right, go back to where was that.
1. The institution of slavery existed in the Philippines long before the Spaniards arrived. Its long history and economic importance ensured its survival. 2, Spanish colonists actively engaged the slave market for their own labor needs and also transformed the institution
by what?
By carrying out slave raids themselves.
So they did what the Arabs was doing. They carried out slave raids themselves, the Portuguese. That's why it says that if they were kidnapped, they got freed. Okay? But they were war captives, they were allowed to stay as slaves. All right? So it says they did slave raids themselves. Go ahead.
Which increased the number of people in captivity.
Go ahead.
Colonial officials, moreover, found it politically advantageous, if not necessary, to consent to the demands of indigenous elites who absolutely insisted on keeping their slaves.
Yeah, that's Japheth in them. Now go to the next page. What page is that? 39? Yep, read that.
Slavery was the dominant form of labor in the Philippines prior to Spanish contact.
Go ahead.
And remains so far another century. The Philippines archipelago had a number of complex societies with varying degrees of human bondage, including slavery. Spain established tributary control over some of these distinct peoples, primarily settled agriculturists who employed slave labor. Royal officials and missionaries wrote the surviving documentation about slavery in the Philippines in the early years of the colony. Despite their obvious biases, a general outline of indigenous social organization prior to contact can be gleaned from these sources. Spanish records, moreover, detailed the debates that occurred during the colony's first decades, which determined official policy toward indigenous slavery in the Philippines for a century to come. According to 16th century Spanish observers, the two largest groups in Luzon Island and the Visayas,
go ahead.
Tagalogs
and Visayans,
Visayans had social and legal hierarchies.
These groups, I'm going to show you the different divisions. The Tagalogs and the Visayans had social and legal hierarchies. It's a caste system. Go ahead.
Tagalog society consisted of elites.
These are the ones that had the slaves of us. The Tagalog society consisted of elites. Go ahead.
Warriors.
Go ahead.
Freemen and slaves. So you had warriors, Maharlaka, freemen, Timawa, slaves, Alipins. Read on. Similarly, Visayan society had elites, Datu, freemen, Tamawa, and slaves, Oropan.
Go ahead.
Both the Tagalogs and Visayans had slaves who were wholly equivalent to chattel.
Us. Go ahead.
Respectively called Gigolid, hearth slave or slave at the edge.
Go ahead.
And Agwawi. Agwe, household slave.
Domestics. So you had a caste system of Japheth. They had us over there as slaves. Like the Elam had the Brahmins, and then you have the Dalits and the Siddhis. That's the caste system. All right? So we were already slaves when the white man got there. We became business. Go ahead.
From what the Spaniards understood, people in the Philippines were enslaved for four main reasons.
So the Edom doesn't just take people and enslave them. They do their homework. Unlike black folks. White people sit back and go, okay, we're going to buy these slaves. Let's find out why we're buying them and why are they slaves to begin with. Who are they? What are they? Watch. Number four main reasons. Watch. Number one.
Most were born slaves.
Most were born slaves.
Others were captured in ongoing wars with nearby towns.
They were overthrown.
Others were enslaved as punishment for theft.
Go ahead, criminals.
And the enslavement of the rest resulted from personal debt.
So it's the same with Africa. So you had instances where our people were either conquered by neighboring heathens, or we were fighting among ourselves, and we had criminals we sold off, or we had brothers that we gave off to Esau, thinking that they're going to work off a debt and come back. And they took them forever. One or the other. Go ahead.
They wrote that Indian slaves were thoroughly enslaved.
They were thoroughly enslaved. Go ahead.
Which meant that they inherited their status and were sold at market.
They inherited, and they were a generation of slaves. It wasn't just one guy a slave. It was a family of slaves. There was a caste system. What page is this?
40.
40? Go ahead. Go to 45. Yes? Go ahead, Jess.
No, cause in the scriptures, in the law, remember we sold ourselves into as servants, but we was able to work off that
debt and get out of it.
But in this case, we did the same thing. But when Esau came along, we thought we was working off a debt, but really we was getting enslaved for
forever.
good.
Yep.
Hey, Deke.
And that's why the Bible says that the Lord gonna make a full end of all the nations. 'Cause
Yeah, they gotta go.
every nation had a hand in our slavery.
Yeah,
every single one.
Get 1 Maccabees 2:10. Just to point that out. Y'all keep trying to save these people, man. You can try. You know, you can try and die. 1 Maccabees 2:10. This is what Mattathias said about that. Speaking to that point.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 10. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
All of them. All of them. He's saying what nation hasn't got a part of us? Every nation was involved in our enslavement. Every one of them. Whether secretly, whether openly. That's why they hide it. Ammon hides it. They hide Japheth. Forget that, they be hiding him. He all through the islands. They hide it. All right? Now, get me, where we at? Go back to the book again. 45. Yes, sir. Come on. Go to Morga. Let's go to Morga.
Morga was also very clear.
Wait. Go. I'm sorry. Go. I'm going to leave something out. In good time. Start there.
In good time, however, Spaniards had to turn elsewhere for their labor needs, which meant continuing to enslave Muslim captives.
That's black folks. Go ahead.
And purchasing slaves from abroad.
Abroad. Go ahead.
Morga was also very clear about customary rights. It is true that matters touching the slavery of former days have remained on the same footing as before. The king, our sovereign, has ordered by his decrees that the honors of the chiefs be preserved to them as such. The prohibition of indigenous slavery, in other words, only pertains to Spaniards, not Indian elites. As a result of this critical exception, natives of the Spanish Philippines remained in slavery.
Under the original inhabitants of the land. Go ahead.
Which in turn explains why Indians from the Philippines were shipped to Mexico and then sold as Chino slaves.
Go ahead.
The drive to abolish indigenous slavery failed because the Spanish government relied on Indian chiefs for food and stability. And the chiefs, in turn, depended heavily on slaves. Morga explained that the government's position was an acknowledgement of economic reality. The greatest property and wealth of the natives of these islands are slaves.
Was us. Go ahead.
The Spaniards had to respect the customs of the natives and allow them to keep their slaves. The crown was persuaded to make this allowance with certain restrictions.
That's all. It's basically a whole about trying to figure things out. Not buying too many slaves. The natives of the islands needed their slaves, needed us to work. Go to page 47 and 48. Go that highlight a part.
The lawful enslavement of the indigenous group Negritos, also referred to.
Wait. Slow down with that one. Read it again.
The lawful enslavement of the indigenous group Negritos.
The lawful enslavement of the indigenous group Negritos. Go ahead.
Also referred to
Zambales.
as Zambales.
Go ahead.
Exemplifies the leeway given to native chiefs regarding slavery.
The natives of those islands. Go ahead.
The colonial government gave permission to the indigenous elites of the larger ethnic groups to carry out their own slaving raids. The Pampangans in Spanish.
Pampangos in Spanish. Go ahead.
For example, who lived in the fertile province of Pampanga, had license to
enslave Negritos. These are the natives of the island, were given privilege, like the Arabs did, to do slave raids on Negritos. Sound familiar? When the Arabs and Arabs and Hamites raided Negro communities, it's the same thing on the other side of the world was being done. Because the curses followed us everywhere. Go ahead.
According to Capapanga chiefs, the Negritos were naked marauders and scalp hunters who swept down from the foothills as swiftly as deer.
You were fast. Go ahead.
And attacked their people when they were in the fields as a way to remedy this situation and protect the food supply. The Campapangas were allowed to go to war against their natural enemies.
Heathens against us. Go ahead.
Enslave them and then put them to work in rice cultivation.
Plantations. Go ahead.
The enslavement of Negritos, moreover, raises important questions about the conceptualization of slavery in the Philippines.
Go ahead.
And how it changed over time.
Go ahead.
The word Negro is Spanish for black.
Go ahead.
So the name given to the enemies of the Campapangas referred to their dark skin color.
Go down.
They are not as dark as those from Guinea.
They're not as dark as those from Guinea, which is our people also. And Papua New Guineans also is us. Go ahead.
Nor is ugly.
Okay, now they're insulting us now. Go ahead.
But smaller and skinnier.
Smaller, thinner. Go ahead.
And with curly hair.
Go ahead.
And beards like them Ghanaians.
Of Guineans. Well, they had woolly hair, woolly beards. Go ahead.
They did not have towns or houses except for the hills.
Go ahead.
Among the nations of the Philippines,
they are the most.
They are the most barbarous, and uncivilized.
Bywords. Get that? 28 verse 37. Everywhere we go. Negritos, barbarous, uncivilized, savage, ugly. It never fails. It never fails.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 38 and verse 37.
28:37.
Sorry, 28 verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword.
Proverb is a barbarous, uncivilized, savage, lust-driven. Okay, byword is a name called outside of our own. Negritos, slaves, Native Americans, Chinos. These are all bywords. Go ahead.
Among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead.
Wherever we're scattered abroad, we're going to be given different names based upon our captors or our colonizers. Go back to this again. Based on what? Based on Negritos what?
Based on Negrito's physical appearance.
Based on the Negrito's physical appearance. Watch this.
Spaniards associated them with people from sub-Saharan Africa.
So they looked exactly like us. Go ahead.
Whom they similarly perceived to be socially inferior.
Because they were the same people. Looked exactly the same. Now, what page is this? Page 50.
Remember, Wisdom of Solomon says that we were grievous unto them to even look at.
Yeah. Where you at?
During this period of some 60 years, the Portuguese arrived in Manila with the monsoon winds.
Bringing what?
Bringing slaves.
They brought slaves with them already. From where? From parts of Africa. We read it earlier. Go ahead.
From the Moluccas and Malacca and India.
They brought slaves from the Moluccas and from Malacca and India. Who were these slaves? They were Jews. Israelites. Next page. 51.
In Manila, the Portuguese offered a variety of goods in exchange for silver, including munitions, equipment for shipping, and other metalware, cotton textile from India, and spices.
Watch.
Slaves, however, were their singular most profitable commodities. Contemporaries took special notice of the ships that regularly left Goa for Manila and condemned the many offenses to God that were committed on these slaving vessels.
Rape, murder, all kind of castrations, all kind of things going on these slave ships on the Pacific Ocean. Jump down, the slave trade.
The slave trade to Manila ran well because the Portuguese had a trading network to supply their own colonial possessions with slaves. Particularly Goa, Macau, long before the Iberian Union.
Long before the Spanish Union. Next one. Page, what is this? No, I want page 54. Go down.
Archbishop of Goa, Alejo de Meneses, for example, emphasized that the blacks from the mountains of Malabar.
Stop. Remember Malabar Coast? The Jews lived there. God be map. The blacks in the mountains of Malabar. Go ahead. We fled into the mountains. We always fled there. Go ahead.
Had heard the preaching of the Catholic faith in bondage.
They heard the preaching of the Catholic faith in bondage. They were slaves in Malabar by the Portuguese. Go ahead.
And that slavery had increased the industry of the people of the island of Socotra, east of the Horn of Africa.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Next page. Wait. Read the famous Jesuit Matteo Ricci.
The famous Jesuit Matteo Ricci.
Watch this.
Who spent some time on Macau, wrote that China
was what?
Was virtually filled with slaves.
You see, they're not going to tell you this. China was virtually filled with slaves.
We had that map where we came from Macau to the Manila.
Yeah.
The Chino slaves' origins.
Yeah. We had the maps. We have the maps. China was filled with us. Go ahead.
Noting that many of them were taken out of the country as slaves by the Portuguese.
So many of the slaves that were in China, numerous in abundance, were shipped out of China by the Portuguese and brought to where? The Indian areas, Philippines, Portugal, yeah. Mexico, Spain. Go ahead. Go out. Next one.
Hey, Deep, back in Isaiah 49, when you read verse 12, the Lord
Yes,
said
let's get there. Let's go there. Let's go there. I want page 54. You on 54 earlier?
Yeah, 54.
All right, go to 55. We're 55? All right. I'm trying to get through before we're done. Read that, Isaiah 49:12.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 49 and verse 12. Behold, these shall come from afar.
These shall come from afar. Go ahead.
And lo, these from the north.
The north, that will be here.
And from the west.
And from the west. Go ahead.
And these.
The west will be here. Go ahead.
And these from the land of Sinim.
And Sinim is China. From the land of Sinim. That's China. Israel will be found in these lands. In the land of Sinim. Or Sinim is China. Let's go back. 55.
Portuguese slaving practices and the response of local officials. Cantonese and Portuguese officials expressly forbade the Portuguese from taking natives of China for sale abroad.
They don't take Chinese as slaves. Leave them alone. Go ahead.
And then Canton or Cantonese, that's Macau region.
That's
the same
Macau.
area.
Same
that's
area.
The same area.
Wow. Go ahead.
The prohibitions emerged in condemnation of the first Portuguese settlers of Macau, who kidnapped and enslaved children in neighboring Canton.
Wow. Kidnapping, enslaving children in Canton. Get the map. Go back to the map again with Gabi. I'm going to show you Canton.
Canton, Guangzhou.
Guangzhou
where
province.
Hong Kong is.
That's where Bruce Lee was from.
There you go.
Canton, Cantonese.
Down on the coast. Down there, yep.
Go over to
the bottom right.
the bottom
there.
right, yep. So it says Chinese Jews, 20,000 old synagogues accorded. Israel was there.
And he was just telling you the Cantonese told them don't take none of the natives.
Don't take none of the natives
They
there.
weren't taking the Chinese.
They weren't taking their own. They were taking us from out of there. All right? I'm telling you. You know what we're talking about. Sign in. Let's go back out. Let's go back to the book. Go ahead.
That said, documents from Portuguese ships captured by the Dutch East Indian Company.
I'm going to keep that in mind. The Dutch East Indian Company. Go ahead. Show what?
VOC.
You have the West Indian Company and you have the East India Company. Controlled by the same people, which we'll get to a little role next time. Go ahead.
Showed that Portuguese merchants circumvented the said restrictions.
They went around it. Found ways to sell us as slaves anyway. Go ahead.
When Dutch traders boarded the Santa Catarina off the coast of Macau in 1603, for example, the ship carried some 100 female slaves who were likely meant for sale in the Philippines or elsewhere in Southeast Asia.
Wow. Go ahead.
For the Portuguese, the legality of enslaving Japanese people.
Whoa. The Portuguese legality of enslaving Japanese people. Go ahead.
Among all other nationalities, was the most controversial.
Go ahead. Japanese people. We'll see. Go ahead.
Portuguese colonists were unconcerned, but outside forces hindered their slaving activities.
Go ahead.
In 1571, King Sebastian of Portugal outlawed the enslavement of Japanese people at the request of the Jesuits, who argued that it hindered their missionary project.
Come on.
Several decades later, the Portuguese in Goa threatened to rebel if the said decree was enforced. So Philip III was forced to revoke the prohibition in 1605.
So they continued it. Go ahead.
The Habsburg government could not withstand outright opposition, so colonists were allowed to keep their Japanese slaves as long as they had just and lawful titles.
Japanese slaves. Keep going.
The Portuguese faced similar problems in Macau. In 1613 and again in 1617, Cantonese officials ordered the Portuguese to stop retaining Japanese slaves.
Stop retaining Japanese slaves. Go ahead.
Adding, you are Westerners, and so of what use are Japanese to you when you can use blacks?
You can use the blacks instead. Go ahead.
The presence of Japanese almost always decided in favor of the plaintiff and allowed the Portuguese trader to keep the defendant as a legal slave.
Go ahead.
The court in Manila allowed Portuguese traders to employ the reasons articulated by the provincial councils of Goa for what made someone a legal slave. One trader petitioned the court to have his slaves declared just and legal because they were from the Malabar coast.
You're from where?
The Malabar coast.
So the Japanese, Esau is trying to sell Japanese. Listen, stop doing that. Stop selling them. Leave the Japanese alone. Grab the niggas. That's justifiable. Esau was trying to save everybody. It wasn't happening. So here it says that the Malabar coast, that's okay. That's the Jews, that's Israelites. Go ahead.
And thus they belong to a caste and nation that the Provincial Council of India declared to be slaves.
The Provincial Council of India said it's okay, you can sell them as slaves because remember I said before, Elam and Edom were okay with selling us as slaves. The provincial council in India was Elamites, pure Indians, East Indians, said, yeah, sell them as slaves. You don't care about them. They ain't us. Now, let's jump down to page 70 and 71. Come on. I'll wrap it up soon. I'm going to try to go through this book fast as I can.
70.
70.
71.
Yeah, 71. Let's see that one there. Load up. 70.
70. You just had it.
Load up. Let me see that one there. Read that.
As proof of ownership, the trader submitted a letter from Fray Juan Pinto, Bishop of China, who wrote that Isabella was a true slave because her own father had sold her into slavery when she was 7 years old. When questioned on the matter of her enslavement, Isabella explained that she had been a slave as long as she could remember and had served different masters in the city of Macau.
Wow.
Based on Pinto's letter and Isabella's testimony, the judge decided that she had been acquired in a just war.
Jump down to Masters in Manila. The time constraint. Read that.
Masters in Manila continued to claim through the 1680s that their slaves were legal because they had purchased them from Portuguese traders who had provided certifications from foreign vicars living on the coast of India.
Because India gave them the liberty to do so. So it's okay. Go ahead.
Justifying their enslavement.
We bought them from the Indians. The Indians are okay with them being sold as slaves. What's the problem? Go ahead.
Traders were also successful in this process because of the ineptitude of the prosecutors and the propensity of the justice in Manila to accept bribes.
He paid more money and got more slaves. What page is this?
71.
70.
Go to page 70.
Go
up to the top.
No,
71. Conclusion.
The diversity of the slaves in the Manila market prompted important discussions among Spanish colonists and officials about the legality of enslaving certain groups of people. After 1574, Spanish colonists were not legally allowed to own Indian slaves, but native chiefs kept their customary rights.
Elam said, we're gonna keep them as slaves. We don't care what you guys do. Go ahead.
The colonial government had to make allowances for indigenous elites to keep their slaves in order to preserve social order.
Yeah, let them keep us as slaves. Go ahead. That's their laws, their country, their business. Go ahead.
In contrast, the ongoing enslavement of Muslims was easily rationalized as part of the just war being waged against infidels who opposed the spread of Christianity and Spanish domination. The enslavement of those brought by Portuguese traders prompted the least questioning.
Yep, go ahead.
Their geographic origin meant that they had been enslaved in regions outside of Spanish political jurisdiction, which freed Spaniards from having to determine their legal status. After about 1700, the only slaves who could be legally declared slaves in Manila were in a subgroup of the slaves once delivered by Portuguese traders, African slaves.
Israelites. And now down to us in the end. Go ahead.
The Manila slave market changed in the late 17th century with the complete abolition of indigenous slavery and the end of the Moro Wars.
Moro Wars, that was us. Go ahead.
Started in 1679, the Spanish crown finally enforced the ban on Indian slaves, so that even the slaves of native chiefs were slowly freed. At this time, the colonial government also prohibited slave raiding in Mindanao, which severely limited the influx of Muslim slaves. In 1681, for instance, Governor Juan de Vargas y Hurtado agreed to pay the king of Mindanao 650 pesos in recompense for 13 Muslim captives who had been taken by Spaniards in a raid back in 1669.
What page is this? Go to page 72. You almost do it. Go ahead.
As a result of the colonial government's new policy on Indian and Muslim slaves, the Manila market shifted to African slaves.
There we go. The Manila market shifted to African slaves. From natives of China, remember the Israelites that was in China, India, Japan, said, okay, enough of that. That's illegal now. Let's focus on the Negro slaves from Africa. Go ahead.
The enslavement of Africans and their descendants posed few legal challenges.
Yes.
So they became more prevalent in all sectors of the economy. These slaves were mainly purchased in Portuguese Macau and brought to Manila by Cantonese merchants who extended their trading activities to Mexico. In 1683, for instance, Don Pedro Quintero Fienio, a singly sold 2 African slaves to the admiral of the Manilan galleon for sale in Mexico.
See who was brought on that galleon? Negroes and natives. Go ahead.
African slaves continued to arrive in Manila for decades to come. But after about 1700, they were no longer channeled into the Trans-Pacific slave trade.
No longer. Go ahead.
The next chapter details the workings of that trade and explain how it finally came to an end, in part because of the efforts of Atlantic slave traders who sought to monopolize the influx of Africans into Spanish America.
They all tie in together. What page is that? 72, 88. Come on.
He had been informed that it was common
Grangeria. I've seen some slaves. Go ahead.
He had been informed that it was common for the passengers of the galleon to board with slaves who were described as being black.
Watch this.
And also from places like Japan.
Whoa, 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 wait a minute. Wait a minute. They had shipped slaves from on the galleon slave ship who were described as being blacks from where?
And also from places like Japan.
There were black slaves in Japan. That explains your black samurai Yasuke. He wasn't the only one. He was the most notable one. There were many of us out there in Japan. That's an island that goes back to the Isles. We were all over the place. Now what page is that?
88, right?
Go to page 96. What's this? Oh, damn, here we go. Map. Blow it up. The map. Let's see. Residents of Chino slaves discussed in the book. Dominant route taken by Chinos. The primary Chino Road, slave market in Mexico. Zancatan. Look at these slave ports here. Guadalajara. They dropped this off here. Look at this. China Road, Mexico City. Veracruz. Go down to the map at the bottom where Chino slaves lived. All throughout Mexico. That's the blacks that were shipped over and the natives that were shipped over from those areas. Go on next page. Go to page 97.
A similar pricing differential marked the experience of a Chino slave named Adrian. He was sold at auction in Manila for 37 pesos when he was just 12 years old, and again a few years later in Acapulco for 200 pesos. Notably, the person who purchased him in Mexico expressed great concern about the legality of his title, perhaps because the document designated that Adrian was a Creole, a native of Manila, which hinted that he was actually an Indian and could conceivably demand his liberty by claiming he was an indigenous vassal and thus protected from enslavement.
Come on.
To facilitate the sale of this questionable slave, the seller signed a promissory note that explained that he would send further documentation of Adrian's legal status on the next galleon. It was easier to sell slaves from outside the Philippines because they were obviously not Indians. In 1635, Gasper.
Wait a minute. Remember that guy earlier? I don't know if this is even here. Read it again.
Gaspar, who was originally from the Malabar coast.
Somebody else, but same name. Go ahead.
Was sold in Manila for 62 pesos as a captive slave subject to servitude with proper title. Having all the precautions, certificates, and judicial diligencies, he was resold in Acapulco for 205 pesos just a few years later. Many more cases beyond these examples testify to the significant gains that were made by the traders who engaged in this traffic.
What page is that, 97? Yes, sir. All right, so Lordsville, we got the wrap it up.
Yeah, we got
so
a lot
we're going
more.
to pass the time. Those we're going to share some videos of the Negritos. We got some videos regarding them to further go into how they were sold off and deemed look like they look like Guineans, as they say. We're going to go into them with the videos I got up next. So Lordsville, next time we're going to go into that regarding the Guineans and how they pretty much were our people being sold back and forth in this Manila slave trade. They were sold, some did, some did not. Don't forget to donate. Okay, you see the barcode, your QR code in the corner. I'm not going to point to it, as I always have a hard time finding it. There you go. So donate. We can go out there and visit our people on these lands and bring the word to them, all right? So hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. As much as I enjoyed going over it, a lot of that book was involved, but now it'll be a lot of more stuff. Lordsville later on next week. I got more stuff. Less book pages next time. But hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. With that, say shalom, shout out to the IT team. Shalom.
Hey, Israel, let's give a hand. Fire class. All praise the Most High. Let's run through these announcements really quick. All right, Israel, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Our Hidden History Radio. Make sure you hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Also, subscribe to our Philly channels, IYC Philadelphia and IYC Philadelphia in the Classroom, to get the latest camp videos from the deacon, captain, and officers of IYC Philly. You can donate to Our Hidden History on PayPal, too. IYC.Philadelphia@IsraelUnite.org. In the comment section, put OHH. Also, donate to the Booster Club so we can continue to spread this gospel to the four corners of the earth. You can donate on PayPal, too. IYC.fundraising@IsraelUnite.org. Last but not least, subscribe to IUIC TV to get exclusive content from the leadership of IUIC. Next. All right, missing persons, we have Jada Gomez. All right, Jada Gomez is 16 years old, Hispanic of race, hair color unknown, eye color brown, about 5'1" and about 140 pounds. Okay, so Jada was last seen on December 19th. She is known to frequent the Rock Ministry Boxing Gym on the 2700 Kensington Avenue. No clothing description given. Okay, so if you know of her whereabouts, make sure you make the local authorities known. All right. Also, donate to the Land Fund. You can donate to the Land Fund on PayPal to Israel@IsraelUnite.org, and in the comment section put land. All right, so make sure you're sending donations every week. And last but not least, we're seeking your assistance to enhance our national broadcast. So kindly spare a minute to provide feedback by answering 5 brief questions. So pull out your phone and hit that QR code. That's it, D.
Oh, you're not all Filipinos are Israelites. No, not most of them are Filipinos or Israelites. No, but we are found among them. There are groups of us who are all Israelites. Yes, there are different subdivisions. I said before, there's a caste system. So, like I said, like not all Indians are Indians. Some of them are Israelites. So it's a varying degree of us found among all people. In the Philippines, you have, like I said, you have Philippines who are Philippines or like Japheth or Moab. And you have like different sects, like they call them the Aita people. The Aita people, that's us, yeah. Like hands down, that's us. The Negritos, that's us. So I'm gonna go into that, Lord's will, next week. The Aita people and the Negritos, I'm gonna go into that next week, Lord's will. So I'll share the differences. But there was a varying degree of caste system that were the elites, the indigenous elites I went over. When that's not us. That's the original inhabitants of those islands. Japheth and Moab got over there later on. And so, no, not all Filipinos are Israelites. No, only certain different groups of them are Israelites. So be mindful of that. So don't trust around, try to be on some running over there and grabbing a Filipino chick when you don't know which group of them is us and which one is not us. Be mindful of that. I'm not giving you permission to go out here and marry heathens. Don't be stupid. All right, and mess around, beat my name up and stuff. Oh, I thought said you can have Filipino heathen. No, I did not say that. I said Israel is found in these lands, and certain groups of them, like the Aita people, or the Negritos that are there, that's us, yes. So just be mindful of that, all right?
The scripture says we were scattered in the four corners
of the earth, yes. So just be mindful of that, all right? Don't put my name in stuff and say I said some stuff I didn't say, or I read something and y'all say, here, Thon said it. You know, Tertullian. Be mindful. Tertullian, all right? So all praise to the Most High. Like I said, shalom, shouts to the IT team, and shouts to the breakfast team. Lord's will see y'all next week. I'm excited. Next week's gonna be fun. We're getting close to the end of this. So, eventually I gotta start working on my notes for King James stuff. That's gonna be the most complex and most annoying class ever, because there's very, very few scriptures. So I gotta kind of just go as I go along. Anyway, we'll get there. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Glad we had the journey together. See y'all. Shalom. See y'all next time.
Shalom.
Most High Christ bless.
Searching for the road to the way back. We don't know our father's going way back. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. We the chosen people, you say no way. Your enemies been teaching you the wrong way. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's the simple things in life, like learning all again. It's the simple things in life, like finding where it all began. Oh, do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know your history? History. Yeah. Do you know it? Do you know it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? Do you know it? Tell me, do you know it? History. Now we going back. He done on my back for sure. When I let the truth go, we gon' let them know. My people on my back for sure. I hold them down.